We're joined now by solicitor Tamlin Bolton. Her firm represents 7 families in the Letby case, 5 of whom saw guilty verdicts returned. In 2 cases, the jury was hung. Let's talk about compensation, can we? It's set to be capped at the moment under current agreements, protocols, at about £13,000, which sounds pitiful, doesn't it? What kind of figure would you be looking at?
It's such an impossible question. There's no exact figure that you can put for a price on a life. That figure of 13,000 is capped for a fatality, and it reflects the time when those children died. It's now been increased for deaths after 2020 to 15,000. But if you're trying to pick a figure to value a life, it's so impossible. You could say 50,000, but why not say 55,000? There really is no monetary value that reflects that loss appropriately.
No, and of course, millions of pounds aren't going to replace the life loss for those that are the the victims' families, or indeed ease the pain that they've had to go through since, and indeed during the trials. So what is the legal purpose, if you like, of compensation? What does it help?
It's a reflection of the harm that's caused. So what it does is it's a financial penalty to show that an action has been taken that was negligent or illegal, and therefore this is the remedy we have in a civil claim to try and reflect that fault and that harm. The hope that it can bring is that there are funds then available for the families to access private therapy, private support, and to deal with that implication for the rest of their lives.
Because, of course, we know in at least one case, one of the babies that Letby assaulted but that managed to survive has nevertheless been left severely brain damaged and has life-changing injuries to the brain which will persist for the rest of that child's life. Would you say that the parents of that particular child would receive more compensation than some of the other parents?
I think it's inevitable that they will. That child has a higher care need. It will need support with everyday things. The parents and the family will need support. Practically and unfortunately, that is the position. The more injured you are, the more compensation you need to help rebuild your life and put you back to the situation you should have been in.
Of course, the other area of compensation I wonder if you have a view on is the moment in court that we didn't see yesterday, which is Lucy Letby standing there to receive her sentence being handed down from the judge and to hear from those families their witness statements. And that's something that the families, I'm sure those that you have spoken to, you will know really wanted. What's your view on the legal, if you like, complications potentially of enforcing that by any means necessary to get a perpetrator like that into court?
It's a really difficult question, and I think it's for those who theorise in jurisprudence, and if sentencing is fully complete, if the defendant is not there to hear the impact of the harm they've caused. You've gone through a lengthy process, everyone's heard the evidence, it's absolutely harrowing. And then a judgment is handed down by the jury, they've given their verdict, a sentence is inevitably going to be delivered. And the question as to if it's complete as a sentence, and we've done our duty as part of the justice system, is really open if she's not there to hear it and not there to hear the impact.
You're in close contact with these 7 families. And obviously, they couldn't have hoped for a harsher verdict yesterday. Indeed, I think most of us couldn't have hoped for a harsher verdict. Has that brought them any succour at all?
For some, it's vindication of what they knew and they suspected. They've been through a lengthy trial and a lengthy investigation before that. For others, though, there's no closure because there's no answers for them. And that's why a civil case against the trust is really important, so that we can get some answers, look at accountability, hope there's reflection, hope there's learning, and find out if there were any failings that could have avoided some of the deaths. I don't think anybody is suggesting that all of the deaths or all of the harm will have been avoided, but if some could have been, it's important that we as a society are aware of that.
Would it be fair to surmise that now that Letby's beginning her total life sentence, some of the anger of the families and the parents is possibly being transferred from her, now she's been dealt with, to to the national health bureaucrats who allowed this to happen?
It would be wrong for me to say that on their behalf, but I think that's fairly reasonable. It's quite obvious there have been some issues in that unit, and for all of the paediatricians and all the paediatric nurses that were there that raised concerns, those are very legitimate, important issues that are considered.
A lawyer's reply, but we understand why you phrase it that way. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.